Hey, what are you doing?
I don't know. I got my new computer and I just don't know how to use it.
Huh, you know everything about computers.
Not this one. This is different. I can't even open my book to finish writing it.
What do you mean? Let me see.
Look at this.
Oh, that's pretty. What is it?
They call it my start menu.
What? It looks like a bunch of squares.
Yeah, that's the problem. How do I get to my book? I'm almost finished, but I can't even open it to write the last chapter.
Well, where are your desktop icons?
Desktop icons. I can't even find my desktop. I wish I still had my old computer. At least I really knew how to use it.
Maybe we should do something different.
Let's go shopping.
Okay, the mall.
Yeah, the Apple Store.
Yeah.
Rita, do you think maybe Windows 8 is the best thing that ever happened to Apple? We just saw Stella go running to the Apple Store.
Jeff, I think that's just a bit of an exaggeration. I know the word around the community is that Windows 8 is not the most friendly operating system, but I think that there is a bit of a learning curve to Windows 8, and with that in mind, we decided that it'd be a great idea to inform the viewers in the community of the new Windows 8.1 that just came out. To that end, we have one of the founders and facilitators of the New Technology Special Interest Group at Grand Computers on the show with us today. And he's not only a Windows, Android, but also an Apple expert in terms of knowing the ins and outs of the technology. And we'd like to talk to him today, and his name is Joe Parla. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Joe, before we get started on the world of Windows, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been working with computers since I was in high school. As a young child, I helped my mother solve complex picture puzzles and develop a passion for solving problems. I take things apart, and sometimes I'm able to put them back together again. When I was in college, I was fortunate enough to have a summer job working for a large computer manufacturer, substituting for employees that were on vacation. My computer disciplines span many areas of information technology, mostly working for large companies. Two of my favorite projects are working with a number of companies to implement the Universal Product Code or barcode system for sales, and also the creation of fail-safe data centers that continue to provide computing services even in disaster situations. In addition, I hold multiple certifications in disaster recovery, computer security, and Microsoft Windows.
Well, Joe, everybody knows that I love basketball, and Jeff here is a karaoke geek. So, Joe, we heard about the business end of you, but what about Joe the guy? Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, Joe the guy is kind of the same person you get when we talk about computers. I have a passion for technology, and I've been very fortunate to have a career that matches my hobbies. I grew up in the Chicago area, and I also lived in Southern Illinois and Richmond, Virginia. I moved to Surprise in 2008. I've been an active member of the Computer Club for 6 years, and I teach classes, I help members with issues and problems, and facilitate a special interest group called New Technologies.
Well, you know, Joe, I just remember when talking to you that we both frequented some of the same folk clubs, and I never knew you then. That's kind of interesting.
It was a small world. We may have even been in the same place at the same time.
I know.
And not knew it.
That's true.
Okay, let's talk about Windows 8. Joe, how radical of a change is Windows 8 for people moving up from Windows 7, Vista, or XP?
Moving from a previous platform of Windows is a fairly radical change. Microsoft's intentions with Windows 8 was to make the interface look like the same operating system across multiple platforms, smartphones, desktops, laptops, tablets. Windows has two views, the familiar desktop view, similar to XP and Vista, Windows 7, and a new, what they did call Metro, which is now called the New Experience View. This new view uses icons like Onto will have the same features across all the devices. So if you have customized your session with a particular picture or a particular background or color scheme, it carries across from device to device if you choose to. In addition, cloud services, Microsoft has enhanced the SkyDrive product, which is a way of storing your files on the internet in their cloud services and being able to access that from any other device using SkyDrive. So you can access your devices similar to other vendors' products from a device such as a tablet or a smartphone or a desktop computer, or because of the Microsoft account, you can go to any other computer, such as in a library, and access your files securely.
But on another note, Joe, I hear that the Windows Store is much more improved than it was even 6 months ago. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. The Windows Store is enhanced now with Windows 8 to give access to all of their new experience apps. Those are the apps that run on tiles. And that store has over 100,000 applications currently. So you should be able to find an app that suits your needs. The name has been changed from the Metro style apps to the Windows Store apps. And the interface, like I said, has changed. But those apps run in this new Windows format that's called New Experience.
So, one quick question. I understand Windows 8 has something called charms. What are they, and are they really all that charming?
Charms came out in Windows 8.0 as a way of accessing what were considered the most used functions. So charms, when you execute it by moving your cursor to a corner of the screen or swiping with the mouse, gives you access to the shutdown commands, settings, control panel, I believe, search function.
Okay, so it's different than those tile things.
It is.
Okay.
It is a menu that pops up from the right side of the screen and gives you a few options for most used features.
Well, you know, that's kind of what I want to talk about, that user interface with all those crazy tiles and the desktop. How are the two of them different? You've got now a desktop that used to be called desktop for legacy programs only, which means all the old stuff, because you couldn't do it on the new stuff. Now you've got the tiles, you've got the desktop, you've got these live tiles, whatever the heck they are. Can you talk a little bit about that? And answer me one question. Doesn't this ruin your battery if you've got these live tiles that keep, I mean, what does it mean being alive as a tile?
A live tile is an application that runs, and when the tile itself is being shown, it will update information. So certain tiles are live, such as finance. You can have a stock market throughout the day change, or your weather change for temperature. News can scroll on this tile without actually opening the application.
And you'll show us this right now.
We will.
Okay.
On the desktop is, again, like you said, the legacy type of applications, but transitioning from a previous version of Windows, that may be the preferred way to run applications for a period of time. Also, older applications will only run in the desktop mode. So one of the issues with running Windows 8 is you may bounce between these two different interfaces, or you may stay with one and run on the older applications or just the newer applications.
That brings up an interesting question. Two different interfaces. I've noticed on Windows 8, you can bring up Internet Explorer and it looks almost like the old Internet Explorer. There's also another way to start Internet Explorer from one of those tiles, and it doesn't look anything like the old Internet Explorer.
That's correct. There are two Internet Explorers now with Windows 8. There is the older legacy version, and there is the Tile interactive app version. They do look different. They operate in two different views or modes. So they're very perceptive that you've seen that.
And will my favorites and everything be shared between them, or is it two separate applications?
It's two separate applications. I believe they do share favorites. However,
Saved
startup
passwords?
and tabs are different. Passwords to sites, I think, are the same. They're stored in the same area.
Okay.
But you didn't answer my question about that battery usage. You know, I hear on like the Windows Surface Pro 2, you have anywhere from, that's their little tablet, that the new one has anywhere from 8 to 10 hours of battery life. But in reality, the reviews are showing us that it has probably more like 6 hours of battery life, and they're attributing that to the live tiles. Can you speak to that?
That's a great point. If you're using the live features on these applications, they're accessing the internet, and that does take more battery life. So that is the trade-off. If you want the live apps to update regularly, you'll incur a cost of using more battery to get those features. You can periodically turn off your internet connection, and that will increase your battery life.
Well, thank you. What about that UEFI? What is UEFI? This is supposed to be something really new with Windows 8.
Well, UEFI, which is pronounced UEFI, is a new architecture in computers, and it's not limited to PCs. It's in other computers as well, and it's an enhancement to the BIOS, or the chip that holds the initial configuration for the computer. Microsoft leverages this to make changes without having a dramatic impact on the computer. In addition, allows what's called a safe boot, which rebooting the system will rid yourself of some malicious software that may get into the computer.
Okay. Joe, we talked so much about the new Windows 8 and all the great stuff it did, but what about the features it removed? I'm really heartbroken by some of this, I gotta tell you.
It has been an issue for several people. The biggest thing was Windows 8 removed the start button, and that's usually the first thing people use is the start button.
That's why they call it a start button.
Microsoft spent a fortune getting a rock group to sing their Start Me Up song when he introduced Windows 95. The start button's been with us since then. However, it was gone in Windows 8.0 and has returned in 8.1, but not completely. So the start button is there. It's not the familiar start menu, as Jeff mentioned earlier, but that's probably the largest complaint users have for Windows 8.
But wasn't there, the concept was that you're never supposed to shut Windows off? The new Windows 8 was supposed to be going continually. Isn't that why they kind of hid the start button?
Yes, I believe that's one of the reasons they did it. Windows 8 can run for days, weeks, or months without a restart unless a Microsoft update requires a restart.
And then you got to find the start button.
And then you have to find the start button or the
Yeah.
charms button. Yep, that is true. Other features were removed were the DVD player. The normal version of Windows 8 will not play a DVD movie because that support's been removed from Windows Media Player. Microsoft decided to remove that for cost. They had to pay royalty to other companies for that, and they decided to remove it. I believe with the Windows 8.1 Pro version of Windows, DVD player is there. There's plenty of third-party software out there that can become your DVD player, though. They also removed Windows Media Center, which a lot of gamers used because it has a game-like console interface and provided a way to watch movies and play your own media in a very simplified format. That is no longer in Windows, and the backup and restore features have been removed from easy use. They are hidden in Windows 8, and if you look hard enough, you can still find the Windows 7 backup and restore features to back up your hard drive. But it is not readily available to the average user.
So are you going to teach that in the classes
We
at
do
the
teach
computer
that in
club?
the class.
Because somebody's got to show us how to do that.
We spend about a fourth of one class on backup and restore. It is important to do, and you'll be glad you did it if you have an incident.
So Joe, okay, I'm sure in most of our viewers' eyes, this question has been coming. I know that you have a Windows 8 computer setup that you use. You cannot be this knowledgeable without having used it extensively. For your own personal computing, what do you use?
Currently, I use Windows 7, and that is because I just have never found the time to make my main computer converted to Windows 8. I have the Windows 8 disk sitting on the top of it, and perhaps soon I will do that.
Well, if you're going
But,
to be teaching
Windows
those classes, you better... I'm just kidding.
Okay, now for an easier question. I know you're the founder of the New Technology SIG at the Grand Computers Club. Can you tell us a little bit about the SIG and what you do?
The New Technology Special Interest Group is a group of members from the Grand Computers Club that have a more technical background and wish to discuss more technical issues. We have a strong interest in computer technology and technology in general. So we have a hour-and-a-half session once a month that addresses a certain topic. It's an open forum, and so it's interactive in that we can just talk back and forth. Try to have a presentation available as well for each topic.
So tell me, do I really have to be technical to attend this, or can I come and still learn something even if I know almost nothing about technology?
Yes, you don't have to be a technical expert to attend. We welcome everybody. We are open to questions. We try to keep the questions on topic for the main part of the meeting, but we'll entertain questions at the beginning and the end of the class as well. And the topics tend to be current technology news. So we discuss things that have probably been on the news or in technical journals, but it's certainly not a techies only group. And I would suggest going to the meeting or two of them and see what you think. They're open to everybody in the club and everyone in the community for 3 meetings if they want to see what it's about.
Well, that sounds very interesting. So even if I'm not a member of the computer club, I can come check out 3 meetings and see what's going on.
That's correct.
Now, you scared me at one of the last meetings about a new virus that's coming on board that we can't do anything about except some ransomware, that we have to actually pay for it to get it off the machine. Is that still something we should be worried about, or have we figured out a way to get rid of it?
The ransomware is just what that. It holds your data ransom, and they want money to make it available to you again. It essentially encrypts your data, and then without the key to unlock it, your data is unusable. Unfortunately, I have not heard of a solution to that yet. The only thing you can do is before an infection or just good computing technique would be to back up your data on a regular basis and take some action to prevent that particular piece of malware from getting in your system. So you can make some setting changes that will show you a warning before it would actually try to infect your machine.
And you'll talk about that at the New Technologies group.
We will.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's very good advice. You should always back up your computer. And I think some of our viewers may remember that in our previous episode, we actually had Malware Bytes here talking specifically about ransomware. And they said basically the same thing. The way to avoid it is to stop it before it starts. And backups is a very good way to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
So now, can you tell us a little about where, when, and any other things we need to know about your new technology, SIG?
Yes. The New Technology SIG Special Interest Group meets on the third Wednesday of every month throughout the year. So if you're down here in the summer and looking for something to do, we're available on the third Wednesday of every month. We meet from 4 o'clock till 5:30 p.m. and they have a Supai room over in the Chaparral Center.
Well, thank you, Joe. It was very informative. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
So thank you for the opportunity to talk to our community.
And I certainly hope we get to see you again soon.
Thank you.